If it doesn't get weirder than this, 3 months ago, East Palestine, Ohio, was at the center of a pilot program to respond to emergency situations. They gave digital IDs for free to residents to track long-term health problems like difficulty breathing.
East Palestine is known as the place to be. It's way ahead of the curve on a program to provide better treatment for anyone in the event of an emergency. I learned how it works and how it could help everyone in East Palestine. My ID provides quick medical information for emergency responders. Darlene Chapman is the outreach coordinator for this project, and she's an EMT.
If they're in a situation where they can't tell us or they don't have any family around, this is something that would make my life easier.
My ID works by taking a camera phone and pointing it at a QR code. It provides valuable medical information such as allergies, breathing difficulties, or other conditions, so you get proper treatment and care.
If anybody sees the QR code, you'll be able to scan this and get the information. So it helps that person, not necessarily just here, but anywhere in the nation.
Is setting up a clinic for residents to get evaluated, and a team of medical personnel and toxicologists from the HHS and the CDC are expected to arrive as early as Monday. Phil?
One person that has been on the scene ever since this started on Friday is the commander in charge of the Mahoning County Hazardous Materials Response Team, and he was still on the scene today. He caught up with our first new senior reporter, Jerry Ricciuti. He talked with him about the situation and what he's been going through as he's been here.
Steve Sakeley was one of the first responders on the scene of Friday's derailment, arriving soon after East Palestine firefighters.
The only way I can describe it is like the doors of hell were open. I mean, it was hot and the flames were shooting up in the air at least 100 feet.
As we came to learn later, there were highly flammable materials on board, but no manifest readily available.
We didn't know what chemicals were, but once on scene, you can smell it in the air that there was something.
Sakeley says the images of a half-mile-long trail of fire actually were of burning material pouring out of one of the tank cars and moving toward the front of the train, until Sakeley and a partner were able to stop it from advancing any further.
When Sakeley first arrived, he was on a tanker with the Springfield Fire Department, dealing with a fire scene that was active and getting worse by the moment. But after several hours, he left, only to return Saturday morning, but now he was Mahoning County's hazmat chief.
So they spent all day Saturday there, monitoring there and helping whatever way they can. We went up going back down Sunday.
That was when experts realized the internal temperature of one of the 5 tank cars carrying vinyl chloride was becoming unstable, causing fears of a catastrophic explosion. It was decided to blow holes in all 5 cars with explosives and burn off the material.
That was the worst case scenario for this type of chemical. So that's like the last thing that they could do.
Following the release of the material, many have complained about smelling chemicals to the north in Mahoning and Trumbull counties. Teams and equipment have been monitoring the air quality ever since, and the readings have been safe. Sakeley calls the experience a once-in-a-lifetime event. Jerry Ricciuti, WKBN 27 First News.
On February 16, 2023, representatives from the company responsible for the derailed train in East Palestine, Ohio, pulled out of a town hall with residents because they did not feel safe.
From a gentleman who was at the town hall meeting who says he was told by the Ohio EPA Norfolk Southern did bury contaminated soil under their replacement rails. Their plan now is to put in French drains to let whatever might leach off when it rains this afternoon and collect that. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked this question. This is maybe the most important thing that I can say on the cleanup. So what I've heard from multiple people is that the accident happened, and by Tuesday, there were replacement rails. So this is the day after the controlled burn. I believe the controlled burn was on Monday. So on Tuesday, there were replacement rails allowing trains to run through that area. You cannot dig out and clean up an area if it's covered by railroad tracks and there are trains going over it. So the fact that they replaced the rails, I think, suggests they're much more focused in reopening the railway than in cleaning up this community. That's a big, big problem, and it's something we're going to take to Norfolk Southern, frankly, as soon as we leave this meeting.
3 more chemicals that were on board the Norfolk Southern train that derailed here in East Palestine just over a week ago. And we're being told that some of those chemicals are dangerous.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency sent a letter to Norfolk Southern stating that ethylene glycol monobutyl ether, ethylexyl-acrylate, and isobutylene were also in the rail cars that were derailed, breached, or on fire. Caggiano says ethylexyl-acrylate is especially worrisome. He says it's a carcinogen, and contact with it can cause burning and irritation in the skin and eyes. Breathing it in can irritate the nose, throat, and cause coughing and shortness of breath. Isobutylene is also known to cause dizziness and drowsiness when inhaled.
I was kind of surprised that when they quickly told the people they can go back home, but then said if they feel like they want their homes tested, they can have them tested. I would have far rather they did all the testing.
Caggiano says it's possible some of these chemicals could still be present in homes and on objects until you clean them thoroughly.
There's a lot of what ifs, and we're going to be looking at this thing 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line and wondering, gee, cancer clusters could pop up, well water could go bad.
Caggiano recommends anyone who's in the East Palestine area get a health checkup. He says get a record now of where your health stands so that moving forward you'll have documentation of any possibly related effects to the train derailment.
Once again, would you move? As I'm going to throw another rock right here. Would you stay here? Would you drink that water? Would you be affiliated with this? Would you bathe your kids when it's bubbling up and looking like an oil slick?
Hey guys, so I'm here at Leslie Run, and there's dead worms and dead fish all throughout this water. Something I just discovered is that if you scrape the creek bed, it's like chemical is coming out of the ground. Can you come here and let me just show this to people. I don't know if you're going to see this on camera, but watch this. Just see that chemical pop out of the creek. This is disgusting. And the fact that we have not cleaned up the train crash, the fact that these chemicals are still seeping in the ground is an insult to the people who live in East Palestine. Do not forget these people. We've got to keep applying pressure. That's how we're going to fix this problem. Thank you.
Wow.
Look at all that.
Look at it.
It's all in the bottom of the creek bed. Now look at it.
They derailed a train carrying perhaps the worst chemical cargo possible, and then detonated every single car carrying that substance, right in the middle of the most prime farmland in the country. That's clear and obvious an act of war waged on the United States by the government. Clearly, the worst enemy of the United States is its own government. Stolen elections have consequences, and this is proof. This weather system is in fact the worst toxic waste known to man, put into the sky by the government of the United States of America.
Palestine, Ohio, again left swimming in a sea of doubt.
Who can you really believe,
Health and safety concerns still rampant, more than 3 weeks after the Norfolk Southern toxic train derailment.
We had eyes burning. I couldn't stop sneezing for a half an hour.
Today, federal authorities announcing the shipment of contaminated waste from the site would resume tomorrow to 2 new locations in Ohio.
All of this is great news for the people of East Palestine and the surrounding community, because it means the cleanup can continue at a rapid pace.
This latest development comes after officials just yesterday announced they were halting shipments of the toxic train waste to 2 EPA-approved disposal sites in Michigan and 1 in Texas.
Will that continue in any capacity? Is that material being vetted?
That material was already vetted. They are not currently accepting any more.
Still, Wayne County, Michigan Executive Warren Evans saying he felt blindsided by last week's arrival of tons of contaminated soil and water.
The outward effect of it looks like we're being sandbagged.
Okay. Back in Ohio today, East Palestine residents stocked up on cases of free bottled water. Caravans rolling into town with other giveaways, including air filters.
How many's in your household? There's 4 of us.
Meanwhile, federal agencies say outreach efforts to address residents' concerns will continue. But tonight, some here left wondering if their town will ever recover.
I've got mixed emotions about all the publicity, but by the same token, if we don't have the publicity, who's going to hold Norfolk's feet to the iron?
And George Solis joins me now from East Palestine, Ohio. George, what's happening at the derailment site now?
Kate, the Ohio EPA says they'll be installing water wells at the site to determine if the groundwater is contaminated. Also, all but 11 of the rail cars have been removed from the site. Those that are still there are part of the ongoing NTSB investigation. Kate.
Jamie Wallace was living in East Palestine near the site where a Norfolk Southern train derailed in February 2023. After living in a hotel, she returned to her house having been told it was safe.
My whole face was on fire. My skin was breaking out, turning red in a rash. I couldn't breathe.
Our house is about a mile away from the train derailment.
Misty Allison says her family was not immune.
I would say definitely within the first 6 weeks, it is very well documented. Many residents faced a lot of acute symptoms like respiratory symptoms, congestion, nosebleeds, rashes, different things like that.
So we have new plans to really dive deep into the health outcomes of this population.
The National Institute of Environmental Health Science is now awarding the University of Kentucky $1.5 million to begin a long-term study into the health effects of the derailment.
We know that there was some damage done, and we're now in this new study, we can look at the long-term health effects. So what did that damage do? What is that chronic inflammation causing in terms of lung function, brain health, mental health, their well-being?
Now also including the impact on children, inviting participation within a 50-mile radius of where the derailment occurred.
We hope to answer those questions on which age group, which group of people. Is it those who live the closest? Is it those who are farther away? Where and how far do the impacts go?
The air and the water are safe.
Many in the community still skeptical of what they have been told.
What do you make of the distrust of the EPA results?
Even in our research, people need to ask questions. And I love that the community continues to ask questions.
There are people in the community that are having some long-term health concerns that need to be investigated.
I feel like we need to research as much as we can. Again, so when this happens again, we know the most we can. We've been made guinea pigs.
In East Palestine, Dave Nuthers, Fox 8 News.
The railroad runs through the heart of East Palestine. Every 20 minutes, another train. Even though the mining industries that once relied upon it and helped build this Rust Belt village are now mostly gone.
This was a train freight depot.
East Palestine is revamping the old depot. Village manager Antonio Diaz-Guy says the plan is to turn it into a brew pub, a legal settlement with Norfolk Southern Railway Company for damage done during a massive derailment is helping to pay for it, as well as other local projects.
One of the things I've been thinking about is how do we make East Palestine an example, not just for what did happen, but what we could prevent from happening.
In 2023, 38 cars went off the track and caught fire after a wheel bearing overheated and caused an axle to break. 11 of those cars were carrying hazardous materials. Last year, Norfolk Southern agreed to give the village of East Palestine $22 million in damages. That's on top of the $310 million it already paid the federal government for cleanup costs and the $600 million for a class action lawsuit to benefit local residents and businesses. The company says it's completed remediation efforts, removing contaminated soil and restoring waterways. But residents we met in the basement of a local church say they're experiencing ongoing health issues, from tumors to tremors.
The doctors turn around and say, it's from the medications you're taking. Some of these medications they've been taking for 20-some years.
They're taking part in a study looking at the long-term impacts of exposure to not one, but several toxic chemicals. Jamie Wallace is a local organizer who has little faith in government regulators. But like many local residents, she too is hoping some good will come from their struggles.
If I have to go through cancer and die, and my daughter has to watch that when she's 15 or 16, or worse yet, if she were to go through cancer, at least I feel like with the research that we can help other people so that they'll never have to go through that.
The village manager also hopes others will learn from the derailment. He says economic development plans are beginning to bear fruit, including a state-of-the-art training center for first responders. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, East Palestine, Ohio.
Since the toxic derailment in East Palestine, and rail safety reform is still in limbo. Lauren Linder is here with more on where that effort stands tonight. Lauren.
Good evening, Ken. Well, since that hazardous train derailment, some federal lawmakers have fought to improve safety on the nation's railroads. And despite bipartisan support, proposed bills have never made it to the chamber floors. They hope that finally changes.
As time passes, the memories don't fade away for anyone with a connection to that day 3 years ago, when a Norfolk Southern train derailed, bursting into flames and releasing toxic chemicals into the air in East Palestine, Ohio. And with these memories are reminders of the failures on the part of the freight industry.
When you look at the direction where safety is going on Class 1 railroads, it should be alarming. It would be alarming in any other industry.
Greg Regan is president of the Transportation Trades Department of the AFL-CIO. He says it's time the workers, first responders, and communities where these trains travel through get the protections they deserve.
The derailment rate on mainline tracks have increased 25% over the last decade. Hazardous material released into our environments, into our communities, has jumped by 23%.
They're protections he wants to see through legislative action. Through the bill introduced a year ago, led by local Democratic Congressman Chris DeLuzio and Republican Congressman Mike Ruley of Ohio.
The 3 years of inaction from the Congress remains unacceptable.
In the Railway Safety Act, they're calling for measures including increased fines on rail carriers for safety violations, a requirement of 2 workers on every train, and for defect detectors along tracks, updated inspection regulations, and greater communication with emergency response coordinators and first responders, providing them with advanced information about hazards aboard trains.
We honor East Palestine not just with remembrance, but with resolve.
Resolve that lawmakers and those in the industry say is desperately needed to prevent another community from facing the ongoing health and environmental issues still lingering in East Palestine and neighboring Beaver County.
I do not want to be back here next year, or at the 5-year anniversary, or the 10-year anniversary, or heaven forbid when there's another tragedy, one that shocks another community, or even worse, one where lives are lost because of that tragedy.
Now, both former President Biden and President Trump have supported this bill, and Vice President J.D. Vance previously co-led the legislation in the Senate. The leaders of the bill in the House hope he can help push it through this time in his higher role.